Stonington, Connecticut is a rural community with rolling hills, dense woods, and winding country roads that become pitch black at night. On one evening, a passerby driving along a desolate stretch saw a blaze and assumed it was a brush fire. He stopped and called 911 while retrieving his fire extinguisher. A local fire chief arrived and began extinguishing the flames. As the fire died down, the chief made a horrifying discovery. The burning object was not debris or an animal. It was a human body. The scene transformed from a simple fire response into a full criminal investigation. State troopers secured the area and closed the roadway. Every detail was documented meticulously. The victim was wrapped in multiple layers of plastic, blankets, sheets, and duct tape. Investigators immediately recognized this as a dump site. The killer had transported the body to this location and discarded it like garbage. The wrapping suggested the murderer attempted to conceal evidence, but the body itself told a different story. Fire had ravaged the remains, leaving them charred beyond recognition. The Connecticut State Medical Examiner's Office was called to identify the victim and determine the cause of death. The case was now in the hands of Dr. Ira Kaner, a forensic pathologist with 30 years of experience. Dr. Kaner had performed more than 4,000 autopsies in his career. He described the work as enjoyable and satisfying, but admitted it required a certain disposition. His team carefully unwrapped the body, preserving any trace evidence for the crime lab. The victim was a young female in her 20s. She appeared to be a light-skinned black woman, though she could have been Latin. The killer had removed her nose, ears, fingers, and toes. Skin had been cut from her ankle. The mutilation was clearly designed to prevent identification. Without fingerprints or tattoos, investigators faced a significant challenge. But the killer had made one critical mistake. The front of the body showed more severe burning than the back. This indicated she was lying on her back when the fire was set. When investigators turned the body over, they discovered a section of skin had been surgically removed from her lower back. The cut was precise and deliberate. Dr. Kaner concluded a tattoo had once occupied that area. Connecticut detectives searched state databases for missing young women with large back tattoos. They found no matches. Expanding their search to neighboring districts produced a breakthrough 80 miles away on Long Island, New York. A young woman named Rebecca Costa had been reported missing. Rebecca Costa was a 24-year-old nursing assistant living with her parents. Her father, Larry Ross, filed the missing person report after her employer called to say she never arrived for work. She had been out with friends the previous night and was last seen at 3:30 in the morning. The missing person flyer described her height, weight, and hair color. It also mentioned a distinctive tattoo on her lower back. Connecticut detectives remained skeptical due to the distance between locations. They turned to Dr. Kaner for confirmation. The killer had left the victim's teeth intact. Dental records provided a foolproof identification method. Dr. Kaner compared the victim's teeth with Rebecca Costa's dental records provided by Long Island police. The match was undeniable. Rebecca Costa was the woman found burning on the side of the Connecticut road. Detectives now faced the grim task of notifying her parents. Barbara Costa described receiving the news from detectives waiting at her home. She asked if it was bad news and they told her to sit down. They explained Becky was found and it was a homicide. Barbara grabbed her coat and ran outside screaming that someone had killed her baby. The investigation into Rebecca's final movements began immediately. Rebecca had gone out with her best friend Nicole and boyfriend Dan the night she disappeared. She told her mother she would return home and go to sleep before work. At 3:30 in the morning, she called Barbara to say she was home safely. But when Barbara's husband called to say Rebecca missed work, Barbara grew worried. She called Rebecca repeatedly with no answer. Nicole said she left early, and Rebecca stayed with Dan and other friends. Dan became a prime suspect. He claimed he walked Rebecca to her door and left. A polygraph test suggested he was untruthful, but his story matched others, and no evidence linked him to the crime. The investigation took a critical turn when Rebecca's phone records revealed 2 calls from a 617 number at 4:10 and 4:27 that morning. Cell tower data showed the caller moving toward Rebecca's house. The first call lasted 15 minutes. The second lasted only 20 seconds. Investigators believed the caller was at Rebecca's home, letting her know he had arrived. The number belonged to an untraceable burner phone. Meanwhile, Dr. Kaner discovered the cause of death. There was no soot in Rebecca's lungs, meaning she was dead before the fire. Her liver had been stabbed and she had 4 neck wounds. One neck wound caused an air embolism. The air embolism from the neck wound would have killed Rebecca within seconds. This proved she was alive when the stabbings occurred. Dr. Kaner's examination refuted any possibility of an accident. Police obtained surveillance footage from the Butcher Boy bar where Rebecca had been that night. The video showed a man approaching her. He was older and dressed conservatively. He took her phone and appeared to enter a number. A witness named Jennifer identified this man as someone who made her uncomfortable. He had put his name in her phone as Jay Brown. The 617 number matched. Investigators now had a name for their suspect. Fingerprints lifted from the duct tape wrapped around Rebecca's body revealed another name. Evans Ganthier. His thumbprints were on the sticky side of the tape. Ganthier had a criminal history including domestic incidents and disturbing allegations involving women. When arrested, he concocted an elaborate story claiming Rebecca had a medical emergency and fell. He admitted to mutilating her body, but denied killing her. Dr. Kaner testified that Ganthier's story was false. There was no head trauma. The stab wounds killed her. The jury deliberated for 5.5 hours and found Ganthier guilty. He was sentenced to 25 years to life.